Hello and welcome back to Scale Model Shed for another audio inbox review. Today we are going to be looking at the Romfell Panzerwagen in 1/35th scale from Copper State Models. All of the images and any other notes can be found on our show notes on the Libsyn page or on our social media sites, which are all at scalemodelshed.com. That's Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Or you could pop along to our brand new website at scalemodelshed.com and anything you'd like to see will be posted over there. Now the manufacturer is Copper State Models, as I've said. Now, a little bit about them before we start. I believe they were an American company to start with and now based in Latvia. They mainly produce World War I vehicles, aircraft and figures. Very often compared to Wingnut Wings for their build quality, for the detail, and for the presentation, the boxings, etc. I have built their Copper State Models Lanchester in 1/35th scale, the little British armoured car, which was just a pleasure, absolute pleasure to build. Very, very nice indeed. And so as soon as I saw this Austro-Hungarian armoured car come up for release, I wanted to get my mitts on it. I picked it up from their stand at Scale Model World in Telford last week. Very, very nice company to deal with, very friendly. Had a good chat with the guys there. They were very interested in, I mentioned I built a Lanchester, they were interested in what scheme I'd done, how I'd weathered it. They even asked where they could find any photographs of it to go and look at, etc. And it was genuine interest as well. It wasn't just lip service. Lovely team and very nice to speak to them as I was buying their products. They had a lot of models on display on their stand just to show off what they actually look like when they're finished, and they do look absolutely amazing. This Panzerwagen, the Romfell Panzerwagen, 1/35th scale. The kit number is CSM 35002. It's an Austro-Hungarian World War I armour. The box itself, I would say 4/5 of it is taken up with a large rendered photograph of the vehicle itself, which looks like it should be in a 1970s kids cartoon. It looks like Dick Dastardly should be bumming along with Muttley behind him, giggling away. It's a wild and weird looking thing, but that's in a very, very good way. It's awesome. As soon as you see it, you just want to build it. The image on the front is depicted with various covers open and removed, so you can see the engine and some of the interior detail. The box art image is depicted in olive green, which is open to interpretation, as we'll come on to later. On the side of the box you have two schemes, neither of which are olive green, both of which are depicted as dark grey and slightly lighter grey. One has the Iron Cross emblazoned on the side and on the rear, and the other one is just black and dark grey, or dark grey and darker grey. But there is a note in the instruction book, which I'll come to, saying that there's no real certainty of what the colours should be. So some could have been olive drab, some could have been black and grey. We don't really know, to be honest. Personally, I love the image on the box art. In green, I think it looks fantastic. I would guess it would look really stealthy in black and grey. However, as myself and my lovely co-host, Mr. Dan Cook, both said, if you wanted to, you could throw the World War I stuff right out the window and you could do anything you wanted to this. It could be depicted as some kind of post-apocalyptic vehicle. It could be anything. You could do it in any colour you want and it would still look fantastic. It sort of opens itself up to any modifications you'd want to chuck at it, any colour schemes. It's just an amazing looking thing. I love it. When you take the lid off the box, if anybody's ever built an ICM kit, you'll know what I'm talking about. The lid comes away from the box to reveal a full boxing inside in very, very solid corrugated card, closed shut in white with a nice big sticker on the front which says CSM, Copper State Models, Austro-Hungarian Romfell, with a line drawing of the actual vehicle itself, CSM kit number 35002, and mine has a little extra of a stamp on there to just say that I bought it from Telford and Scale Model World 2019 on November the 9th and 10th, just to give it a little bit of a personal touch. So like I say, the cardboard is very, very rigid. There's very little chance of your stuff your kit getting damaged in transit. When you lift the lid, you are confronted with the sprues, all individually bagged, but more importantly, you have the gorgeous instruction book, which is printed on very, very good quality heavyweight paper. The paper itself isn't textured, but it's printed to look as though it's textured, so it gives it a little bit of an aged look to it. The front cover is presented to you as if it was an original handbook from the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1915, and it's all written in German, which I'm not going to attempt to read out because my German is not the best. But let's just say it looks very, very pretty. Then you are greeted with 6 pages, and I kid you not, 6 full pages of information, of photographs, of blueprint drawings, of line drawings, all from the archive. I would say there's pretty much everything you'd need for reference in these first 6 pages of the handbook. When I built the Copper State Models Lanchester, I basically used the handbook as reference, and then I just looked on Google for a couple of extra images just to give me a little bit of an idea of where I wanted to go with weather and etc. But other than that, all the information you need is in here. Plenty to read. I won't read it all out, but suffice to say, the name Romfell comes from the names of the 2 designers who were whose names were Hauptmann Branko Romanik and Oberlieutenant Simon Fellner. And so they essentially took their names Romanik and Fellner and blended them to Romfell. I didn't really do that justice, did I? But that's how the name came about. And it was first produced in 1915. It's based on a Mercedes passenger car. That's all the detail I'll go into for now. The rest of it is all very well detailed, and the first 6 full pages of the handbook. Moving on to the next page, you've got your standard sprue map. You've got, I would say, 3 main sprues, 2 smaller sprues with the wheels on, etc., which are duplicates. There's 2 of each, 2 of those. And then you've got a very, very small clear parts fret, which only has 3 parts on it for the 2 headlamps and the search lamp, which is mounted on the roof. A very, very small decal sheet from printed by Cartograph, really just has the name of the vehicle, which is Romfell, and some iron crosses on there should you want to use the iron crosses for your design. They're printed in black. The box art ones have got the iron crosses in green on a white background. So whether you want to find some masks for that is entirely up to you. Then it gives you the paint call outs and also the basic symbol reference, which you would expect to find in any instruction book. Moving on to the instructions themselves, it is done over 35 steps, which makes it seem like it could be built very quickly, and it could be. Going off the Lanchester that I built, the fit was no issue at all. Everything went together really, really nicely. So you could probably build this quite quickly, but whether you'd want to, I don't know, because the way that the instructions are printed, they are very, very colourful. If you've ever seen Wingnut Wings instructions, they're very, very similar. Lots of colour. No ambiguity about where anything goes or what you're fitting and how it's supposed to be fitted. Everything's there that you need to do, so you can spend as much time as you want on each section. And if you wanted to add any more little details, you could. That it all screams out for any sort of additions that you wanted to put in there, although they are very well referenced in the first place. If you did want to add some more details, I can highly recommend their photo etch set. I managed to pick one up from Telford when I bought this. It was only about £10. I don't even think they're for sale on their website yet, but they had a few sets of the photo etch on the stand at Telford, which I grabbed. So there's quite a lot more detail comes with the photo etch set, so it's well worth picking up. For the sake of a tenner, I would say it's worth it. Now, there's nothing in the instruction book to tell you where the photo etch should go. That is all in the sheet which accompanies the photo etch fret. But the 2 of them, having used the photo etch on the Lanchester, the book and the photo etch sheet do work very well. So there's no sort of ambiguity over what you're going to cut off, what you need to replace with PE, etc. So they do work together very, very well indeed. So like I say, 35 steps in the instruction book. There are other little diagrams and photographs sort of dropped in there as you go through the instructions, and then the final page just gives you the 2 schemes from the side of the box, the black and grey, one with the iron cross, one without. But there is also a note that says all colour information are speculative as there is no documentation known. On the pictures, the vehicle appears in different shades of grey. This could have been a very dark grey or a kind of olive green. On Austro-Hungarian vehicles and armour, they've been used in many different colours. The sides of the car could have been painted black. Wheels are light or dark grey. So basically, it's up to you how you want to paint it. Nobody's going to tell you that that you're wrong. Well, they might tell you, but as far as they can gather, there is no there's no proof to say, or no evidence to say what colours they would have actually been painted in. But the instruction book itself is just joyful. It's lovely. Moving on to the kit itself, like I say, you have 3 main sprues and then 2 sprues with the wheels on, which are identical. All very, very highly detailed. The only thing I would say is, having built the Lanchester, there's slightly more flash on this than there was on the Lanchester, but it's nothing major. There's no sort of, it's not going to take you a long time to remove. I'm talking like a quick sweep over with a fine sander will get rid of it. But slightly more flashy than the Lanchester was. But nothing at all to worry about. The detail is beautiful. The rivet detail, etc., is great. So sprue A, just going through them very, very quickly. Sprue A, you have the roof and the side panels and the main chassis, along with the main part of the cupola for looking out of. Detail is lovely. There's some pipe work depicted on there, which, if you wanted to super detail this, I think you could easily get away with leaving that as your pipe work rather than scraping it off and replacing it with lead wire or whatever, which you would usually do with many kits. The rivet detail is outstanding. It's just beautiful. And the detail on the radiator is very nice as well. I'll come back to that radiator detail in just a second. Sprue B has some other side panels, exterior panels, and the machine guns, exhaust, etc., and also the radiator fan, which I will come back to again in a minute. Things like what looks like a handbrake lever, the pedals, that kind of thing, are very nicely detailed, very fine, and you'd have no problems in showing those off once they're painted. They will look very, very nice indeed. When I say there's a lot of flash on this, looking again, the flash is only on the very, very small details. A lot of it is on the sprue nubs. But yeah, I think it's going to take a little tiny bit more attention than the Lanchester did. There is very little in the way of mould parting lines, seam lines to get rid of, and any that are there are very, very fine indeed. You could get away with those, get rid of those with a slight scrape of your hobby knife or a waft over with a very fine sander. Now then, the reason that I mentioned the radiator and the radiator fan is that when you come to sprue C, the actual grill that goes along the front for the radiator is one solid part. The louvres aren't separate, which is a slight shame if I'm totally honest. I would like to have been able to see inside, because the detail on the radiator itself and the fan, which is going to obviously sit there as well, it deserves to be shown off. Now, whether that's possible to do by leaving panels open, I don't know, but I would just have liked to have seen that moulded in such a way that you could see through the louvres. I don't think it's something that you could cut away yourself because the detail on it is so fine. I mean, it would look good. You can quite easily, with a little simple painting technique, painting from above and putting a wash in there, you can depict the shadows to look like it's slotted, but it would just be nice to have that ability to see inside and see what's behind it. But it's no big deal really, but it's just something that I would have liked to have seen. I have checked the photo etch sheet and there isn't a photo etch alternative for it as yet, unless that comes out in the near future. But other than that, that's the only thing that lets this down as far as I can see. The lights look very well detailed. All of the panels and the engine look very well detailed as well. Springs are all leaf springs, of course, nicely moulded. No sink marks on display on the front, no ejector pin marks. All of the ejector pin marks on the rest of the kit are hidden on the inside, so there'll be very few there to get rid of should you need to. Even if you wanted to leave it open, you would probably only have a few to actually hide away. The final pair of sprues, the identical ones, are sprue D, which have a lot of the little levers and the wheels and control panels, wheel arches, etc. Again, detail is fine. There's no sort of no real flash on these to contend with. Certainly nothing that's going to cause you any problems, that's for sure. The wheels are in 2 parts, so you will have a little bit of cleanup to do on there once you pull those together. But as they are smooth tyres on these, it's not really going to be all that difficult to sand them back. You're not going to lose any detail as you go. And then, like I say, just one more very small fret with your coloured parts on. Only 3 which are the two headlights and the searchlight which sits on top of the roof. Like I said, the decal sheet is only very, very small iron crosses, two large iron crosses, one slightly smaller one, and then for the back doors, which are sort of pointed outwards, they have done the decent thing and given you the iron cross to go across the back doors in component parts. So you essentially stick that all on to make it up like a jigsaw, which is very, very good indeed. So all of the sprues were individually bagged, so none of them have come damaged, and I really am looking forward to building this. Overall, I'm really looking forward to it. As I've said, I think it's another beautiful kit offered from Copper State Models. Certainly don't feel let down by it at all in comparison to the Lanchester, and I will definitely be building this in the very near future, I think. In the very near future. So that's it from me. If you want to see any of the pictures, like I said, pop along to Instagram at Scale Model Shed, Twitter at Scale Model Shed, Facebook at Scale Model Shed, or our website at scalemodelShed.com. Let us know what you think. These audio reviews are quite new. We're getting a lot of good feedback on them so far. So if you want to see any of the images, pop over there and leave us a comment to tell us if you like the idea of these reviews or not. Hopefully we shall see you again or speak to you again very, very soon with our other shows. Keep an eye on the pages for other content coming your way. Thanks very much. Take care now. Bye bye.